Yo, what's going on, Geminites? It's your boy Gem Mint. We're here with another recent reads. This time we read Batman Knightfall Omnibus Volume 1 through 3. Stay tuned and stick around for the review. Alright, y'all, so it's been a while since my last solo recent reads. Between reading the Valiant Deluxe Edition hardcovers, I had to knock out 3 Omnis to get the full story. I'm going to give a quick overview of what the books are about and what the story is about, and then we're going to look at the pages together. I'll show you the artwork and get into a little bit more detail. That might get into some spoilers, but for right now, we're going to stay as spoiler-free as we can. This is a Batman story from DC Comics from the mid-90s. It's around the time that Spider-Man was doing the whole clone saga, and it's funny because when I was reading this, I was comparing it to that story in the sense that Bruce Wayne, Batman as we know him, is replaced by another, which is similar to the Spider-Man clone saga with Ben Reilly. And in our last live show, somebody actually brought that up and asked me if I liked it better than Clone Saga. And I'm a little biased towards the Spider-Man stories, but I think this one is more realistic and probably is a little bit better. The first volume is just called Batman Nightfall, and this gives us the introduction of Bane. The first issue is the Vengeance of Bane graphic novel, which is his first appearance, and it introduces us to an exhausted Batman, an exhausted Bruce Wayne who's pushing himself to the limit. He's seeking therapy. He's going to doctors because he's just so overwhelmed. And this is where we get the classic breaking of the bat, the meeting of Bane and Batman. I don't think it's a spoiler because we all know how it goes. We've all seen Dark Knight Rises, and Bane breaks his back. And kind of during this time of his exhaustion, Tim Drake, who's Robin, is running around with Jean Paul, who is the son of Azrael, the Avenging Angel. And they're kind of grooming him to take Batman's place in the event that he needs to get away for a while. So we end with Azrael taking over the mantle of the Bat, and he's programmed by the system ever since he was an infant to be the Avenging Angel. So this program has given him blueprints on how to build like this most effective armor. So he starts tweaking the bat suit and starts becoming something a little scary, and that's where Volume 1 ends. So Volume 1 is all about Bane, breaking of the bat, an exhausted Bruce Wayne losing and getting replaced by Jean Paul. Bane is actually really cunning, a really strategic villain, not like the monster Bane that we know, but more like the Tom Hardy Bane that we've seen in Dark Knight Rises. He breaks out all of the psychopaths out of Arkham Asylum. Volume 2 shows Azrael becoming more and more vicious of a Batman. He's scarier than Batman. He's willing to do things that Batman won't. He starts building these gauntlets that have sharp claws. He's tearing up the villains. He ends up cleaning up Bane's mess and actually defeats Bane, which actually drives him over the edge even more. He feels like he's the perfect Batman. He is the Batman, and he's a different type of Batman. He actually doesn't save one of the villains and lets them die, and essentially becomes a murderer. He locks Robin out of the Batcave. He feels like he doesn't need a Robin. He stops using the Batmobile. He starts using this underground bat train kind of a thing. And he's just like a maniac. They make you hate Azrael in this volume. And this volume just deals with all his solo escapades and how it's affecting the Bat name. Jim Gordon can tell that he's not the real Batman. Like I said, he pushes away Robin. He basically strangles Robin. Alfred is gone at this point. He leaves at the end of Volume 1 when Bruce will just not listen to the doctor's order and just is punishing himself. Volume 2 is actually labeled Night Quest. So that's the Azrael as Batman storylines. The third volume of Batman Nightfall is Night's End. And what happens is in Night's End is that Bruce Wayne heals his back. He starts training again. And he basically gets himself healthy enough to go and take on Azrael and become Batman again. And he comes back, but then it's kind of weird, man, because he gets into it with Dick Grayson, who is Nightwing, and Dick Grayson is pissed. He's like, "How could you leave the mantle of the bat to Azrael? You should have given it to me. I was your most trusted sidekick." You know, Bruce kind of felt like, "Hey, you're doing your own thing as Nightwing. I wasn't going to burden you with that." But anyway, then he gives the mantle of Batman to Dick Grayson, and then you have another new Batman. And there's some interesting concepts that happen with that. Jim Gordon doesn't want to mess with him because he's like, "How many Batman are there? I can't trust none of you guys." And you have Dick Grayson as Batman running around with Tim Drake as Robin for a few issues until Batman finally comes back. This book ends with the Vengeance of Bane graphic novel volume 2. So I think it's kind of cool how it starts with Bane and it ends with Bane, and you get a whole different Bane by the end of the storyline. But that's just like a quick overview. Let's go ahead and flip through. Let's look at some of these issues, and we'll talk about it in some more detail. All right, guys, here's the volume 1 of the Knightfall Omnibus. Like I mentioned, this starts with Vengeance of Bane, the graphic novel, which is a 64-page trade paperback, basically, which is the introduction of Bane. I really dug this first issue. You can see where The Dark Knight Rises borrowed heavily from the idea of this child born in darkness, born in this prison, and basically like they did in the movie, you know? So I noticed with these trade paperbacks, they have a lot bigger panels, and they take their time telling the story because they have so many pages. So Bane grows up to be an adult. He busts out. He starts getting hooked up with the Venom, which is like basically like a steroids. And he basically wants to take on the top dog of Gotham, which is Batman. So these stories are all covered over Batman, Shadow of the Bat, Robin, and Catwoman. And I thought they did a really good job of making it seamless for what title that you were reading. Like when you were reading a Catwoman issue, it still continued the story. It didn't feel like some kind of tie-in. So here's another example of Batman. He's just exhausted. What is this issue? It's a Sam Keith cover here. Detective Comics. The Robin issues were really cool too. I really like them. So here's Jean Paul. They kind of gave him a little costume, kind of like a Batman-esque costume, so Robin can show him the ropes. And I forget what the intention was, to just show him the ropes or if they were really preparing him to be Batman. That's Bane. At first they had him look kind of slim. But as he uses the Venom more and more, he gets super jacked. So this is when Bane breaks out all the prisoners from Arkham Asylum. Here's the Nightfall issues have started now. You got stuff with Killer Croc. You've got stuff with Scarecrow. The Joker shows up for a few issues throughout this run because Bane broke them all out. Riddler. I love this, man. Look how tall these ears are on the Batman cowl. Kelly Jones covers. They were all dope. Batman in the sewers. That was a cool issue. Is this the issue where he breaks him? Yep. So in Batman 497, you get the breaking of the bat. Batman is already at his lowest. He's exhausted. He can't fight. And Bane whoops his ass, man. Let's go ahead and take a look at that panel. Oh, here it is. Boom. Break you. Cracked. cracked him up. So that's the end of the issue, and then we start getting into the aftermath. So then Bruce Wayne's all jacked up. He's no good. Azrael starts picking up the mantle. But at this point, they don't know what's going to happen with Bruce. They think his back's broken. He might be paralyzed forever. So let's see here. So at this point, Azrael's taken over the regular bat suit. So he's wearing the regular cape and cowl for a little while, but then the system that he's implanted with starts taking over, and the first thing he does is build the gauntlets. Let's see if I can find that panel. So this is not Bruce Wayne now, guys. Bane's still running amok, and basically John Paul wants to take him down. Oh, is this the gauntlet? Let's see. Yeah, at this point, he's got the gauntlets. He just created a very small version of the gauntlet. It ends up getting way bigger. Here it goes. See, he basically draws this out subconsciously. His name John Paul or John Pierre? I forget. It's Azrael. See, he's already kind of playing Robin, and Robin's already starting to see. This is when he goes up against Bane the first time. I don't think he wins the first time. I think he wins once he builds the whole armor. See, at this point, Robin's still going into the cave, but eventually he breaks him out. Yeah, so now he's tweaking his suit. He's going to make the ultimate avenging angel Batman. Here goes Dick Grayson as Nightwing. And Bruce Wayne leaves, right? So he kind of leaves Robin alone with this Azrael, and then shit starts hitting the fan. Here goes Bane. Now he's really getting pumped up on the juice. Bruce Wayne leaves with Alfred to go find Tim Drake's dad and the doctor who Bruce Wayne was seeing and has fell in love with. Here goes Azrael in the bat suit, kind of complete version 2.0, Mark 37. And he goes up against Bane as this Batman and whoops his ass. He starts getting like an automatic batarang shooter. So forget it. Once he takes down Bane, you can't tell Azrael shit. He feels like he's the top dog Batman. And that's when he, here it goes. That's when he takes over the mantle. And that's what we get. There it goes right here. So that's what we get in Volume 2 here, man. We get the Azrael Batman, Azbat, as we call him. And he is just the worst, man. He's tearing up criminals. He's taking this train car, like I mentioned, everywhere. He almost gets himself killed when he first uses it. And basically, what's going on with Azbat? He gets these visions. One from Saint Dumas, who he is programmed to follow as the avenging angel Azrael, and the other one's of his father. And they're both kind of pulling him in different directions. And he has these visions. And man, I really get sick of seeing those scenes towards the end of this omnibus. I'm like, geez, the Robin mobile. Yo, I like the Robin issues. I thought they were really good. So that's basically this whole omnibus, making Jim Gordon question if it's the same Batman, and then he puts it together that it's not. He starts going after villains, and he starts taking them out, the escaped convicts from Arkham. You got some Catwoman issues in here that tie in. Catwoman is really a vigilante, like an anti-hero in this book. But it's funny, so Azrael doesn't know that. He just assumes she's a villain, so she could tell right away that it's not Bruce Wayne. Here goes some Joker stuff. So Joker, there's a small little Joker story where he's basically getting some Hollywood investor to invest in a movie of him killing Batman, but he's going to be doing it for real, and that's kind of a little sub story with Joker. Crazy art though, man. So let's see. This is him with Smith's Clayface. He's just going issue to issue. That's pretty funny. Damn, I don't know how I'm good like that, y'all. Look at this. Boom. This Justice League Task Force. So then we finally start to see Bruce Wayne again. After like a ton of issues with Azrael, we finally pick up with Bruce Wayne, and he's in a wheelchair. And he's looking for Tim Drake. I think he's in like England or something. This is Bruce Wayne right here. He's rolling with Alfred. This is sick. This is the doctor that I was talking about that he's in love with, that he wants to save. She was kidnapped. He finally finds her. I think, is this the villain that he lets die? Abattoir? That ends up becoming a big thing. So Bruce Wayne comes back, and he's in no shape to take on Azrael. So he comes back. He finally sees that everything got turned to shit, and then he decides to get better, and he starts training, and he's able to walk again, and then we'll pick that up in Volume 3. So Batman has to train with this woman, and I forget what the name of this is called. This is part of Night's End. I forget what she is. She basically kills a master so that all of his students will attack her. Has Bruce Wayne put on the mask, and I think they call it like the Tengu or something like that, so that they all hunt Bruce Wayne, and that's his training, and he basically has to fight or die. So the first few issues are that Batman getting his strength back. Here goes a vision of Azrael with one of his episodes that are really making him crazy. This is Bruce Wayne fighting those students. Attention teachers and students. Anyway, Batman eventually gets his groove back, breaks back into the cave with Robin, puts on the old Bat gear, and he's ready to go head to head with Azrael. That's right here. Let's see, right here. Them ears. Azrael's in his final form, looking like a damn demon. Yeah, this is the end. This is him defeating Azrael. Basically outsmarts him in the Batcave. But then he doesn't just go on to being Batman. He hands the mantle over to, I guess, who he should have handed it over to, which was Dick Grayson. And Dick Grayson becomes Batman and does his thing while Bruce is out doing something. I forget what he's doing during that time. But yeah, like I mentioned, the two Robins are running around town being Batman and Robin, and they're doing a good job. Dick Grayson holds it down. Two-Face storyline, ventriloquist storyline. Then we got Bruce coming back, so let's see that. Yeah, so when Bruce finally comes back as Batman, he makes another change to the costume, and I guess this is where he goes to like more of an all black look, because he was wearing like the blue and gray, and then Bruce ends up becoming a little bit more of a darker Batman. But I feel like that didn't really last that long. It seemed like it only lasted for those first couple issues when he was back. He starts becoming a little bit darker after everything he's been through. This last story, Troika, it was alright. It basically leads up into Vengeance of Bane Part 2, where you get this KGB beast goes up against Bane, and Bane basically suns him. Alfred finally comes back at the end of this omnibus. And then, like I said, it ends with Vengeance of Bane 2, which is really cool. Venom, he's off the Venom. He becomes a little bit chubby, a little overweight. He's having nightmares about Batman. He's in prison, so he's a little bit fat. And basically, his therapist gives him this doll that has a shank in it. He kills somebody, gets put into solitary confinement for 6 months, where he basically gets in shape and he's healthy enough to break out. He whoops up KG Beast. He breaks out. He hits Gotham dressed as Bane. But not to take out Batman. He goes to take out somebody. I forget who it was. He goes to take out the people that were responsible for putting his father in prison, and his pregnant mother, his mother that was pregnant with him in prison. And he basically tells Batman, like, look, man, I'm not on the Venom. You're not my true enemy. And he dips. He goes to do his own thing. Alright guys, so that's the Batman Nightfall Omnibus Volume 1 through 3. I definitely enjoyed this. Like I said, Volume 2, I really hated, but you're supposed to hate it, you know? I really like the artwork. Copper Age is my shit. And I like the storyline. I've never read it before. So it was nice to be able to read it all in one huge collected edition, 3 collected editions. Make sure to drop me a like, drop me a comment. Let me know what you thought of the storyline. When you read it, have you reread it? Are you planning to reread it again, even though you watched this video? And let me know, you like it better than Spider-Man Clone Saga? I think this takes a little bit more of a realistic approach than the whole clone thing. I mean, come on, that in itself is kind of crazy. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more recent reads and for a whole lot of other content as well, like statue unboxing and reviews, omnibus hauls, weekly pull lists from Manimal, Comic-Con coverage, and more. So check it out. Make sure to join the Facebook group Geminites to become part of the Gem Army, and we can kick it in the Facebook group with all the other Geminites. And y'all stay minty fresh. Peace.